What do you take away from the elections, the results from last night?
Well, I think it was a big win for the City of Utica Republican Party. We doubled our representation on the council.
All right. See, now I feel that you have done a great job here in taking the positive. So no matter what happens, you can always find positive in things, and I think that's awesome.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate that.
Very well done.
Thanks.
So you added, let's see, who did we add here? Of course, Samantha had, well, it looked like it was going to be a close race, but that turned into a pretty big victory right there.
She worked very hard, I have to say.
Yeah.
She did a great job. And I thought she deserved to be reelected.
Okay, and then in the also on the council, let's talk about the council at large. Your take on that?
Well, Michelle Mandia, one of the three elected, at least at this point. I mean, obviously we have the
absentee ballots, but there's a lot. Jim Zecca is way behind. I don't know that he could pull off.
It's between Mandia,
500 or 600 votes there.
Mandia Lemetico is within 50, and they're for that third.
That's going to
seat.
be close.
That's what's
close. That's going to be close. I'm hoping that's going to hold, and I think she did a good job. Had a good message.
Well, and Jack got involved in the whole term limits thing. There does seem to be a message when it comes to term limits.
No, I would agree. I mean, even it is Alan Thayer Jr. In the second ward. Actually, that race was reasonably close with no campaigning, and I think part of it was because of the vote on the term limits.
Yeah,
What's that? Go ahead.
I was shocked at how close the Morehouse-Sunita race was.
That
flabbergasted.
Was very close. But,
78-21.
Yep. So that that didn't go as well as Ernie had hoped to, and it would have been nice if it were a bit closer. But
Joe, what happened to Ernie Sunita? He was so vocal. He was in throwing stones and throwing bombs, and then he disappeared.
I think he raised the number of good points.
Okay.
But I think there were no debates. There was no ability to really contrast positions. Ernie does tend to be a bit excitable. So,
well, he was. If I could just say, there was a lot of chasing of the shiny things, little shiny things, because the one area. It's tough to run against Bill Morehouse.
Yes.
the city
He's
has
a formidable candidate.
No doubt about it.
What's it?
You could go after the one thing you could have gone after though is you promised you weren't going to take a salary. You did, and you're giving out tchotchkes. He could have gone after him for that. But, it's hard to argue where, the city's credit rating and that sort of thing. It's hard to argue that.
I think that there were probably 2 or 3 other issues that he could have focused on and highlighted. And I just think that what ended up happening was that, he kind of diverted from those issues at times and diluted the best parts of his message.
Yeah, okay.
And I think that, at this point, Bill was, reelected. He came out, he actually went and circulated petitions for the extension of the term limits. And then when the council took the choice away from the people, he didn't come out and say, I appreciate what you did, but, I collected these signatures believing that, the people were going to have a choice.
Have a vote.
I think, I think that, it's and where do you get to make that argument that he didn't do that? He didn't. I mean, I think he ran a smart campaign. Bill has always been a very good campaigner. He does a lot of door-to-door. He's very popular. So, and he's, and in many of the instances, he's, I think he has done a decent job in terms of, getting the credit rating up. So
how much of a mandate is this really, though, on the term limits? Because I want to give you, I want to come from the other side just a little bit. So Samantha Colosimo wins. She, of course, was against the term limits.
Right.
In the 5th Ward, Bill Phillips voted for the term limits and was honest and just said, listen, I think the mayor's doing a good job. It's worth giving him another term. And he won.
The argument is not.
Well, let me just go through. Let me just go down. Let me just finish this.
The argument is on whether or not someone's doing a good job.
I understand.
And I don't want to end up rehashing the whole thing. The reality is,
I'm not looking to rehash.
It was presented as an opportunity to let the people speak on that issue.
I get that. What I'm trying to just let me finish my point. Joe Marino was against it. He won. J-Con changed his mind, and it looks like DeSantis is going to hold out with it's a pretty tight margin there, but it looks like DeSantis, your guy, will win there. So that was against the term limits. Testa voted for the term limits. Is that right? Is that correct? Yes.
Yes.
And Thayer's not going to beat him.
No, he's not going to beat him.
Over Pezzanella, McNeil, she voted for the term limit extension, and Lou Posha will not touch her. I wonder how much of this really was about the term limits versus LaMedico got caught in what some perceive as a lie, and J-Con got caught in changing his mind. Those two probably were the ones that got beaten up over the issue, but everybody else survived. So how can it be about term limits?
Well, I don't. Again, I'm not quite sure.
What I'm saying is it's more about personalities and a head-to-head race than it is about any one issue.
I don't know about that. I think, it might have ended up being about personalities because, the Democrats didn't put themselves in a position where they could be compared and contrasted or having to answer basically in a group on, what their reason for taking the vote away from the people was.
Right. Okay.
And I think that again, I think I know sometimes I tend to parse things too finely, but the reality is that was the major issue here. And, whether or not you were in favor of it or you were against it, you didn't get an opportunity to vote on it.
Right. Okay.
Now,
I get that.
The big question is going to be in the next 2 years whether or not there's going to be an action for a declaratory judgment on the issue of whether or not the vote was lawful.
Okay. Well, that'll be interesting.
The petitions were presented one way, and and then the
many people that signed thought they were signing because it was going to be a proposition on the ballot, and that it turns out it didn't work that way.
It was a clouded, clustered circumstance from the very beginning.
All right,
just the way it was generally handled.
Got it. Okay.
So we got a result. If that's the case, it's the case.
All right, Manassi.
We'll address the issue of whether or not the term limits are whether or not someone's going to get to take advantage of an extension of the term limits.
In
the next couple of years.
Okay.
So
just a footnote.
I don't want to
I'm running out. Joe,
all one party's bad.
I'm running out of time. You got to let me get 2 questions in here.
There are people that do a good job, and it doesn't matter at times when whether or not they're Democrat or Republican.
All right.
At least during the time when they're governing, it's the issue comes down to those issues and what people stand for at the time when there's an election.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to ask you a quick question.
It was just a footnote on this issue of the term limits. One is that Lou Posha ran against Maria McNeil. She voted right, as we said. But Posha made more of an issue of the downtown hospital than the term limits. That's just an observation. He did lose 2-1. The other race was Testa Thayer. Thayer did not actively campaign. If you remember, he pulled out for falsely claiming in one of his pieces that he was a U.S. Marine.
Yeah.
So, and he lost 2-1. But again, 214 people voted for him, and he didn't actively campaign for 4 months.
Yeah.
So,
and then I want to get in. Zecca made it pretty clear that this was a mandate on the hospital downtown. The big loser last night, Joe, is no hospital downtown.
You think?
Is it?
That's a statement that I'm making.
I'm not sure where that issue. I'm not sure. I think there are a lot of people that are very emotional about that issue.
Everybody who was big and all in on no downtown hospital lost.
I'm not sure it was compelling in terms of driving voters one way or the other.
Well, it should have been. I mean, that's what we were told. That's what Jim Brock said. That's what Jim Zecca told us. You wait till you see what happens on Election Day. We went out and we started our own party. It's the No Hospital Down party. Well, everybody lost. No hospital downtown, hashtag in front of it, was the big loser last night.
Well, there were only really two candidates, though,
I understand,
right?
but they still, those that were there got beat soundly.
Okay. What would you like me to say?
I'd like you to say,
do I think that
Bill, you're absolutely right.
Their losses are attributed to the fact that they're against the hospital downtown?
Yeah, I do.
No,
listen,
I don't.
They made that the issue. How could it not play a role in it?
Anyone lost or anyone won?
How could that not play a role in it when they made that such an issue? You think that it had nothing to do with it? I don't know how you could say that.
Well, I don't know how you can say it.
I just did.
Okay,
all right.
You said it.
Well, there it is. Now it's over.
Okay, that's your opinion. You want to know something?
Yeah.
Everybody has an opinion, and you and I can disagree.
You're right
on why somebody lost the race.
But when someone tells you my election is a mandate on the hospital not going downtown, the people are going to come out and be heard. When a candidate says that and then they lose, you cannot tiptoe away from it. And that was Jim Zecca's. That is no one can. That is Jim Zecca's. That was Jim Zecca's campaign. It was on no hospital downtown.
Why are you so fixated on Jim Zecca? I don't understand.
I'm asking you about the hospital. That's been a big part of this fall.
I'm saying that I'm not sure that it was the prime issue for people who were voting.
And I'm saying I don't know how you could think that way.
It might have been a prime issue for Jim Zecca. It might have been a prime issue for Lou Posha. Those were decisions that they made when they decided to run their races,
and they lost.
They took a guess at what was going to be compelling to the voters, and they missed.
There we go.
But
so they should reconsider.
Didn't get elected. It doesn't say that all the people that didn't vote for them are in favor of the hospital. It doesn't say that all the people that voted for him.
I would guarantee you the people that voted for Jim Zecca are against the hospital downtown.
Their candidacy, it just says that their candidacy
I don't agree with you
was
at all.
Not compelling. Okay, we can disagree.
Yes, we can.
I don't have a problem with that.
Good. I'm glad. Okay, by the way, Malatesta, our city chairman did a great job. I think he's talking about you.
Listen, I have to tell you something.
And he's not talking about...
Mello really is a substantial asset to any candidate that's running. I'm telling you that.
Well, that's big.
He really does a fabulous job. And if you're, we had some first time candidates, and he really was able to assist them and guide them. And he really does a super job. So
he just followed up. If you don't mind, he followed up. He said, "When I'm saying our city chairman did a good job, it was during the campaign, not the way he's speaking to you this morning, Bill." I don't know. That was just something Mello piped in, or maybe I added that in on my own. I don't know. Not your performance this morning.
Mello, if I disappointed you for beating Bill up this morning. I'll try not to do that again.
All right, I'll let you go back into fantasy land. We'll talk soon. Thank you, Joe.